Hi, everybody. Thank you so much to the people that are watching here. Sorry, we just had a slight tech issue, as often happens with these things. But welcome to our fireside chat. It's lovely to have you here. Luckily, it's a sunny day. We don't need any fires on, so hurrah. But it's quite informal, this, so please do put any questions in the chat as we go through. I'm Jenny Foster. I'm project lead at the Global Goals Centre. And I've got a couple of great guests with me today as well, who we'll be talking to in a moment. And as I say, please do join in with questions as we go through. So the Global Goals Centre is an education charity based here in Bristol, and we're working to create the world's first interactive visitor centre based on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which I'm sure you know about. And we want to engage people with these goals in a really fun and creative way, and really give people that motivation and inspiration and lots of ideas as to how they can take action to help make a fairer, greener future. Basically, we're looking to overcome a lot of this kind of doom and gloom narrative that there often is about both climate and inequality issues, and also people feeling just overwhelmed by them, rising climate anxiety, and people sort of getting to the point where they think, well, my individual actions aren't going to make a difference. We know that they can, that's why we're here, but that's absolutely what we're about at the Global Goals Centre. So how to inspire people about the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs? I mean, most people beyond the confines of this kind of conference out on the street probably have never even heard of the goals. And there's 17 of them, which can seem pretty overwhelming in and of itself anyway. But they are the closest thing that we've got to a world plan, because every single country in the world has signed up to deliver them. Many businesses are working to them. And if you look at all of the goals, no poverty, zero hunger, reduced inequalities, climate action, they really are transformational if we're able to actually achieve them. And they really demonstrate the interconnectedness of all the issues as well, because the whole strapline of leave no one behind is really, really vital. And that's what we are trying to do in terms of bringing more people into the conversation around climate and inequality. But how can we make these goals relevant to everyday people and their lives? Well, we partnered up with Bristol City Council Climate Hub and Bristol 24/7 to create a campaign called the Bristol 17. And we asked 17 local community groups to nominate one hero for each of the global goals. So, for example, Bristol Disability Equality Forum made the nomination for Goal 3, Health and Wellbeing. African Voices Forum made the nomination for Goal 10, Reduced Inequalities. Avon Wildlife Trust for Goal 15, Life on Land. You get the idea. So 17 different community organisations. And then we've worked with creative agency Tusco, and Jake is here today to talk a little bit in a moment. And they've created a 1-minute film on each of these heroes. And the heroes come from right across the city, from all different walks of life, all different experiences, but they're all doing something really inspiring to help reach that particular goal. And all of them in their video gave a call out to the viewer to help to engage them as well with that goal, so that they can all take a personal action and get involved somehow in making a difference in their communities. And there's also lots more ideas on the Bristol 17 pages of our website about how people can take action, get involved with the organisation that did the nomination, so to really amplify the voices of those community organisations. So you can learn a bit more about it on our website. I'll post the link in the chat in just a minute. And as Ben, our hero for Goal 11, said, people are more likely to do something about climate and stuff like that if they hear about it from people in their own communities. And that is so true. And that's why we're running that campaign, giving local people that voice. And all of these 17 videos are being released one per week leading up to COP26 as a kind of countdown campaign to that big event. And they're being shared by a variety of partners. You can follow it yourself on social media. It's #Bristol17. So please do keep a lookout for them. And we hope that they're really bringing to life some of the key climate and inequality issues and showing the relevance of these issues, both to our city, but also to people's daily lives and actions. So, Stu, could we launch our first poll? It's completely anonymous, these polls. If you click on the, by the chat function to the right, it says polls. And if you click on there, Stu's just going to put our first poll up. It's completely anonymous, so please be honest. How motivated do you actually feel to make changes in your own life that will positively impact the planet? So have a look at that poll. Have a vote. Be very honest with yourself about how you feel, about your very own life, about making changes within it. Good to see we have a fairly motivated bunch here. Well done. That's great. Excellent. Hopefully by the end of the session, we might feel even more motivated. Thanks for taking part in that. Do keep the votes coming as the session goes on. So now I'd like to introduce you to Jake. Jake is our creative director at Tusco, and they're the ones that made the Bristol 17 films for us. I will post that link in the chat whilst Jake's talking. Jake, I wonder if you can just tell us a little about the logistics of putting the campaign together, because it's quite a big ask. We asked you to film 17 different people in COVID. So it'd be great just to hear from you a little bit about how you went about doing that and then the impacts that the campaign's having. Thanks, over to you.
Sure, absolutely. So hello everyone, my name is Jake from Tusco. We love to work on projects like this, talking about big issues. Our name Tusco and our logo actually has a reference to an elephant in the room. So big issues that people ignore. So we're really happy that Jenny and the team chose us to work with them on this project. So we do a lot of content-driven campaigns. For the hashtag Bristol 17 campaign, this campaign, there were 17 heroes to film with, which was quite a challenge. There's quite a lot of content for one campaign. And as Jenny alluded to, they come from all different parts of the city, all different backgrounds, lots of stories, lots of work in their lives to reach this point. So our challenge was to try and communicate these stories in a minute's worth of content, which is really, really challenging. So I forget how the quote goes exactly, but creativity comes from constraint or something like that. So when you've got a minute, like how are you going to do that? So what we did is took a really structured approach actually, and we did some pre-interviews with all the heroes. We called everyone up, found out about their lives, found out about their stories, put some questions to them before the call, so to sort of begin to focus some of their answers. And you'll see one of the videos in a minute. We chose 3 questions to focus on, and that was what they do, why is it important, and what people can do about it to help. So we always try and think about content from your audience's perspective, from the perspective of someone who hasn't seen any of these people before and they don't know anything about them. So we can't really take anything for granted. So we really need to get across, who the people are, why it's important that we should actually care and continue to watch the film, and what people can do about it. And once we have that content, we cut it up in the most engaging way and then put it out to, on the various platforms. So the campaign's done amazingly well. I can share my screen now to show you some of the results we've had. Just bear with me. So this is a midway review of the campaign. There's quite a lot of slides in this, so we haven't got time to go through them all, but I just wanted to sort of bring to your attention some of the stats. So we're focusing on, this might be too small on your screen to read, so I'll just give you an overview. We're focusing on building followership for the Global Goals Centre, and also measuring if people are actually taking actions when they're actually watching the videos. So followership along all the social platforms had increased. So Facebook plus 35%. We're also looking at how people are engaging and what they're doing, how they're feeling. That's an important metric to look at. If people are laughing at the content or not taking it seriously, then that's something you need to address. So people are liking the content, people are leaving really nice comments, and people are clicking through. Instagram, big increase in followership. Also gives you analytics on, different genders that are watching it, times of day they're watching it, days of the week they're watching it. So you may want to adjust your campaign based on this information. Twitter increases 14%. The top tweets and the top comments on tweets are coming from this this content we were putting out. So it's showing that it was actually resonating with people, which is great. LinkedIn, huge increase, 100% followership. And it also gives you some interesting analytics to look at how you're performing. You may not be able to see this, but we can share it afterwards. But as an overview, this looks at the Global Growth Centre's content versus other people, their competitors or people who are releasing similar content. And it was having much more engagement than everybody else, which is good. TikTok was new for the Global Growth Centre, having a lot of views and engagement, and YouTube, which was like a repository for all the films that had no followership before. So we've got an infinite amount of new followers for that. I'll just skip down to the bottom here, which I'm pretty sure you won't be able to see this, unfortunately, these stats, but this looks at the analytics from the Global Growth Centre's website, which looks at, are people actually watching the content and clicking through? Really important that they're not just watching it and thinking it's a nice video, they're actually going to find out more. And from Twitter, they had 442 people go from those videos to their website to find out more information. And there's more here for Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and hundreds of other people going through, which is great. It really shows that, that the campaign's working. So I'll just go back here. I think I've stopped showing my screen now, but I don't know if I covered all the questions you just asked, Jenny, but I tried to in the short space of time I had. If I've missed anything, I'm open to questions, but if not, I'll pass it back to you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Jake. And please, people, do put any questions that you might have for Jake about how the campaign was put together in the chat, and we can pick those up later. So I think one of the key things that was brilliant about the campaign is that we just gave local people their voice. We just filmed them and asked them, you know, what they'd done and why they thought it was important. And so it was involving a real variety of different Bristolians in what we were doing. And we're going to play one of the films now. We're lucky enough to have one of the heroes of the film, Katie, with us. So we'll be talking to her in a moment. But this is an exclusive preview for Communicate, because this film isn't actually live yet. As I said, we're releasing them one per week. So this is a week or so ahead. So please enjoy this film about climate action, which seemed obviously the most relevant for the Communicate audience here. So this is film 13 on climate action. Thanks, Jay.
If one actually is worth plans to reduce the time to 5 minutes. No problem.
There we go. How much can you get across in less than a minute? Well done, Jake. It's really good to see. And thanks so much, Katie, for joining us. It's really good to have you here. So Katie is from the Misfits football team. Katie, can you unmute yourself and tell us just a bit more about Pledge Ball and why you set that up? Can't hear you actually at the moment. Have you got your headphones still plugged into the computer, maybe?
She's saying it was a pleasure working with Jake and the team. And
of course. Oh, she might be rejoining.
Katie was so energetic when she came to the shoot. She brought football with her. Right. And we were saying, be careful of the lights. As you were doing all these kick-ups, it was really impressive.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes. Brilliant. Go for it.
I also apologise. I'm sat on the floor because I've just got rid of the 8-month-old. So
it's called a fireside chat, and you're literally by a fire. So work, yeah. So can you just tell us a bit more about Pledgeable, why you set it up, and why it was, why it's made a difference? That'd be great.
Of course, yeah. So I'll start with the why it was set up, and it was alluded to in the film. So initially, it was a response to my nearest and dearest feeling really utter despair in the face of climate change. And as we kind of extended that out beyond our sphere, it became very apparent that, and I think, Jenny, you mentioned this earlier, it's not really people's lack of desire or lack of awareness that prevents them from taking action, but it's more their relationship with climate change and climate action. And this is what Pledgeable looks to address. So Pledgeable works by demonstrating to people the impact that they can have as an individual, and then making that visible as part of a collective. And it focuses primarily on football fans for a number of reasons. So firstly, obviously, the sheer numbers. I mean, we look at Ashton Gate, for example, and just one Ashton Gate's worth of spectators simply, say, refusing junk mail saves the same amount of emissions as taking over 4,000 cars off the road. Then you've also got the regularity of the fixtures, the tribalistic nature of supporting football, the kind of ritual that goes with going to watch a match, the passion, the drive, and that stubborn hope. And these all make it an ideal platform from which to drive social change. So the way in which Pledgeable works is it asks football fans to make sustainable lifestyle choices in support of their clubs. So each match day, they make these pledges, and they range anywhere from using a reusable cup to going vegan to installing solar panels. The team of fans that pledges to save the most emissions wins that fixture, and the cumulative amount they pledge to save determines their place within our Pledgeable League. So at the moment, we are partnered with a number of different clubs, but as I will come on to in a minute, it's really crucial to remember that this is open to anyone and it's completely free. We're a charity. From the very beginning, we wanted to make sure that what we were doing actually worked. So when we launched with our first pilot club back in September 2020, a club called Whitehawk FC in Brighton, we had a piece of academic research carried out on our impact there. And the results that came back were way beyond what we expected. We had people saying that just through going through the Pledgeable process, it gave them an instant raised consciousness. It, and I quote, made them somehow more optimistic and happy because they could see that what they were doing actually had a purpose and they were part of a community. Since then, we've partnered with the likes of Bristol City, Huddersfield Town, Birmingham County FA, and there are others coming up in this second wave of clubs, and research will continue to be integral to our work. But it is open to anyone. So any fan can go on the website and support their club, or they can advocate. So advocate for Pledgeable by spreading this amongst their fans. As Jenny said, it works best if people take action within their local communities. And Pledgeable offers a mechanism for that because fans can go and take this to their community of other fans.
That is brilliant, Katie, thank you. And I think that's one thing that's really come out from the Bristol 17 campaign is just amazing people like Katie that are doing stunning things, and most people don't know about these, that started off quite small campaigns or, community actions. And hopefully through this campaign, we're giving voice to all of these brilliant initiatives. So Katie, obviously your whole Pledgeable works on the fact that people can make small actions, but it's by coming together that obviously the difference is made. And you're talking about, whole stadiums of people and the number of cars that equates to taking off the road. But how can we, all of us, be ambassadors for the goals where we are, in our own little situations? We might not be football fans. Have you got any asks you want to make of the people in this fireside chat?
Absolutely. I mean, as football fans, I've mentioned you can obviously go on and advocate, but actually Pledgeable offers a whole other facility called Pledgeable Events, which makes anybody able to host what we call a Pledgeable event. So school children, chess players, you can host an event that just asks people to make pledges to enter this event. And it means that it calculates the amount of emissions you will save over the course of a year if all of those participants carry out their pledges. So I would just say, as Jenny has said, just go and take action because there is so much potential for what we can do within our local communities.
And I think all of us can, we're all part of something, aren't we? Whether it's a choir or a tap class or whatever, are there ways that you can utilise that group of people? Can you all pledge to only using fair trade coffee or, pledge to not driving to get to the activity or whatever it is. There's groups of people that we all can all have influence over, and we just need to think about what those spheres of influence are. We don't necessarily have to set up a formalised campaign as Katie has done, although that's brilliant, but just have that influence in your own local area, in your own local community. All the neighbourhood chat groups that we've all set up on WhatsApp over COVID, can we get something going through those? We've all got ways that we can take action. So Stu, I wonder if we could launch our second poll. We just wanted to ask you really how much this film and chat has inspired you to take more action to tackle the climate problem, maybe within your own club's sphere, whatever. So if you can get the second poll launched, that would be great.
Can I check, is that launched for everyone else? I just want to make sure it's there.
Yes.
I can't see a poll, but
Have you got the chat open to the right, Jake? It's chat at the top and then poll.
oh yeah, sorry, I'll be quiet.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for voting. Keep those ideas coming in. Thanks for what's coming up in the chat. And thank you, Mark, for adding about the Climate Hub. So the Bristol Climate Hub, who've partnered with us on this, they've also got some other great hero stories up on that site. So do take a look at that, which is really good. And we've got one question in the Q&A from Joanna. How long have you been planning and preparing for Bristol 17? That's a good question. So we kind of started planning it probably 6 months before it actually launched. That was in terms of bringing the partners together. And then, of course, it took us a while to actually identify the 17 different community organisations that we wanted to work with. One or two we approached, they didn't have time to nominate somebody. One very nobly said, we couldn't possibly pick one because we have so many heroes, which is a lovely problem to have. But yes, obviously to communicate with 17 different organisations and then make sure that we could contact all the heroes. Tusker were absolutely brilliant about setting up the filming with the 17 different people, and we had to slot them all into time slots. So logistically, it was a fairly big ask. But having said that, there was also a huge amount of goodwill, both from the organisations and the heroes themselves, to take part because they could see the value of the campaign to obviously, the climate conversation, but also to their own organisations in terms of spreading the word about what they were doing. So that, we were able to sort of move things along fairly well to get it all launched in time for the 1 a week release. So hopefully that answers your question, Joanna. Any other questions from anybody else? Nice to see. Thank you for the positive comments. I appreciate that.
Just to say that we can also in this session, we've got the option if you want to join on stage and ask a question face to face, just click join with audio and video and we'll be able to get you on to ask questions face to face.
Lovely. Thanks, Stu. Also, if anybody wants to share anything either in the chat or on the come onto the stage to share an example of any way that you might have mobilised a group that you're a part of, the way that Katie's done with the football community. It would be really lovely to hear any other stories like that. If anybody's got anything similar that they've done, that would be really good to hear.
While we're waiting for questions, I'd love to just build on what you said, Jenny, about the existing groups and the capacity for that, because actually all the research suggests that it really is the characteristics of these existing groups and the supportive networks that they provide that can so easily lead to sustained change if we all just make sure that, as you said, we take action within our spheres of influence, because it spreads way beyond that. Absolutely.
Thank you. That's really helpful. A question from Mark. Can you say a bit more about the format choice? We've had quite a lot of comments, Jake, on the films about, they work really well. They're all in the same kind of format for those of you who've only seen the one. So we have a sort of intro statement from the hero, which is really quite punchy and hard hitting. And then, them talking a little bit more about what they do with ideas, then going on to an idea and a call out for the viewer. So how did you work out that format for your 1 minute that we gave you as a limit for each film?
Well, it was tough. Let me see if I can just share. I don't know if anyone's seen the other the other films, so sorry, let me just see if I can bring up this quick picture. So these are the other heroes, and we've used the SDG colours and shot on a green screen with 2 cameras. Using 2 cameras in the way we do allows us to cut round footage. So if people's sentences are really long, we could just cut them off and cut to another camera. That's one of our kind of cheats for this sort of format. When it's really short, we just get to the point. People try their best, but then we also use editing techniques to do that. So in terms of aesthetically, we're using these colors. In terms of we knew the format was going to be on social channels, so it's going to be very, very tight. We wanted to get locked in on the contributors. So we used 2 cameras and sitting on a chair. And yeah, so the call to actions for the campaign, we really want people to go to the website to find out more information. And sometimes the heroes have so many different calls to actions. It would take a minute to say them all, and then to sort of give context of what they are so people understand what they are would be way longer. So for some people, it's just go to the website to find out more information. But for some people, they do have a specific call to action, or they do have stats, like Katie was particularly good at just reeling off some stats, really hard-hitting stats. The one about the shower at the beginning, when I approach my shower, I do think about that stat. Every now and again, I do. It's like, oh, maybe I should have a little bit short of a shower. So if people did have that in their locker, we could bring that out. But sometimes it's such a big ask for people to really nail a good call to action. We would just send people to the website where they can find out more information. So that's generally sort of how we approached it.
That's great, thank you. So we've got a couple more. I've just found the questions in the Q&A. I apologise, a bit slow there. Katie, how did you take that crucial first step? Question from Tim.
Hi, Tim. Thank you. So initially, actually, it started as a football tournament with the club that I play with. So I play in the Bristol Women's Casual League, and we just, as a group of people, just came upon the idea. It was kind of insidious that we'd set up a tournament and encourage others to pledge, and that it grew from there because, as I said, we then realised that actually a lot of people do want to take action. It's just not visible because they're immobilised for other reasons.
Brilliant, thank you. And a question from Samantha, did you experience any pushback when trying to motivate people to make changes in their day-to-day lives? I guess it's probably to you, Casey.
That is a really interesting question, because we made a conscious decision not to ask for any kind of proof that people were carrying out these pledges. We would just count the pledges and tell them how much they would save if they carried them out. And there are a couple of reasons for this. Number one, it's very important that people have individual agency. So they choose what pledges that they are going to carry out. You know, you shouldn't have your lives controlled. You should be there with the facts and be empowered to make changes yourself, but that's entirely up to you. Secondly, it provide a barrier to people taking action. We don't want to know if you're doing it or not. What we'd like is for everybody to start having this kind of carbon currency in their head that they carry with them, so that when they go about their day-to-day lives, they are aware of the impact that they're having and they can then make those choices. So we haven't experienced any pushback. I've seen some interesting comments on some of the football fan forums, but amazingly, loads of them are incredibly positive, which I don't think even some of the clubs expected. Because
Oh, I think we've lost you. Oh, that's it. You're back.
Oh, did you lose that?
That's it. We got you. It's fine. I think it's brilliant that I'm really aware that we're running out of time. There's a couple more questions. We picked a minute just to be really snappy on social media, and I think that has worked well, just to answer that quick question. And finding the community groups and heroes, we did that in conjunction with Bristol City Council Climate Hub, Bristol 24/7, and we also asked Bristol Green Capital Partnership. So we kind of brought a consortium together to kind of try and identify who were the best people. And it's the community groups themselves that nominated the heroes. So they have not come from us, it's the community groups that put the heroes forward. So thank you so much for joining us today. And please do go and look at the other films. There's films 1 to 11 at the moment that have been released, and films 12 onwards will be coming up the weeks following. So follow us on social media, Global Goals Centre, see all the films as they come live. It'd be great if you can retweet and share that content, and maybe use the film as a way to mobilise your your own spheres of influence, whether it's your friends, family, groups that you're involved with, to take their own actions for the goals. But we can all be those ambassadors. So thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Jake and to Katie, and enjoy the rest of your Communicate experience. Thanks for joining us.